All right. Let's see if we can go live now on Instagram. There we go. Sorry for the delay there, guys. Good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of GAR Capital. Glad to be with you. If you're joining us on YouTube or you're joining us on Instagram, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. It is September 17th on a Tuesday. It is 8:57 Eastern Standard Time. We did get some news this morning at 8:30. We had retail sales come in. We're going to go over that together right now. Dow futures are up 128 points. The NASDAQ is up 127 points, up 0.63%. Market woke up in a buying mood. S&P 500 up 0.40%. I do have S&P 500 futures showing on the screen. This is the 4-hour chart. We are now above all-time highs in terms of the contract because we had a contract rollover, excuse me. So I want to show the other contract, which is the one we were using just last week. And we are not near all-time highs as of yet. So again, a little confusing. We talked about that on the weekly video about contract rollovers, OPEX week. But for the time being, the S&P 500 contract for December is printing at new all-time highs. Dow Jones is about to open at new all-time highs. So nice breakout. Again, possible double top. We're breaking above it. Doesn't mean we can't reverse, but at least we got the first thing out of the way, which is the retail sales. Tomorrow being the big day, which is the FOMC rate decision. Take a look at Russell. Let's see if the Russell does break above this resistance that we had back in the end of August. But we do have a gap to fill below here on the 4-hour as well. So a couple of risk factors out there, even though we are up this morning. Crude oil is up 0.29%. Gasoline is up 0.09%. Gold futures is down 0.23% this morning. So maybe that retail sales number is starting to give a little bit of credence on the fact that maybe the expectation now, 69% Fed fund futures are showing a 50 basis point cut tomorrow. I still think it's 25 basis points. That's what it looks like gold is pricing in. Silver up 0.06%, copper down 0.28%. Bitcoin is bouncing up 2.84% at 59,630. Ethereum 2325 up 2%. Dollar yen up 43 pips, 140.98. So the dollar is up slightly. You can see here up 0.20%, even though stocks are up. So that's interesting. Volatility index down 0.29% at 1709. 10-year treasury yields bouncing 3.634. So interesting that we're getting, kind of conflicting macro data, meaning yields are up, dollars up. The VIX is down at least, but for the most part, it's kind of pricing in that we're only going to get 25. But you could see here, 69% chance of a Fed cut of 50 basis points. This is the Fed Watch tool from the CME, and you could see it right here. We're at 525 currently in terms of basis points total. 69% shows that we'll get to 475 to 500. That'll equal about a 50 basis point cut. And pretty much the bond market has been showing us that we've been getting cuts or priced in cuts for a while now. If you were on the podcast yesterday and listened on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, we talked about Palantir and how we got in it. Palantir was added to Bank of America's US 1 list. S&P Global removed. Palantir is up this morning. Take a look at it here. 4-hour chart. I had 37.32 as my next alert. Again, I had 38 calls. We're going to be green this morning. The only thing I concern myself with Palantir, and I've been trading it for years now, lately, it's been pulling back first thing in the morning. So again, we want to stay at least careful. We do have time on it, thankfully. But again, if we see it, we're just going to take it, especially ahead of a big event like the FOMC tomorrow. We'll let the runners do its thing. Let's just get to 37.32. Hey, 45 all-time highs. Is that possible? We'll see. But doesn't mean we have to hold for the whole way either. Our contracts expire in October. So looking pretty good. We're up pre-market, almost about 70, 80 cents on Palantir. So it should be a nice breakfast snack this morning. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ together. NASDAQ futures this morning. We are now at 19,800 based on the December contracts. Just remember that. And if we're going to go back to recent highs, what's the level we're looking for? We're not quite there yet. Still stuck a little bit in a range, but still back in this trend line. I know this looks crazy in terms of all the lines, but NASDAQ is always a focus for us. 19,900. Oh, excuse me, 20,000. So if we get the 50 basis point cut, the assumption would be we would get to 20,000. That is pretty hard resistance. We need to crack that above. So we still got, about 200 points to get up there if we get this momentum. Maybe the market is front running a big move from the Fed tomorrow. So there's so many scenarios out there. I kind of broke it down on our Market Watch channel. Gave everyone a quick heads up on what's going on. I keep everyone updated throughout the day. We talked about Palantir and what we have open. So good stuff. Again, it's kind of like my own little tweet feed or my own micro blog in a sense. But way to give everyone some perspective, of course. Let's go over the retail sales together. Retail sales month over month, 0.1%. The expectation was negative 0.2. The previous was 1.1%. So down, but not as bad as feared. Retail sales core, 0.1% versus the expected of 0.2%. So two positive readings. One of them met expectations or exceeded expectations. The other missed. And that's down from previous 0.4%. Retail sales, excluding gasoline and autos month over month, 0.2%. The expectation was 0.3%. So interesting that, kind of two misses, one actual beat. And I guess it wasn't as bad as feared. That seems to be the market right now. Not as bad as people think. That's probably a really good slogan for the past couple of years in terms of stock market and macro analysis because, well, we've been waiting. Everyone's been waiting for the next shoe to drop, and we've had plenty of excuses for it, which are either be the yen carry trade, or we had that volatility in August, whether it's the Silicon Valley crisis, the SVB. If you guys remember that. I mean, just seems that this market just keeps just taking the punches and being resilient, and even with all the pullbacks. So, let's see what NASDAQ does. Got an alert above 19,845. I'm going to go and place that. And then we can target maybe up to 20,000 if we get a big boost. Who knows? Or we could just chop around here. The question remains, what is the best opportunity for us to profit without having the risk of the FOMC changing the whole narrative? I talked about that yesterday on the podcast regarding 75 basis point cut is ridiculous. The fact that it is even being discussed just shows the mania out there that, the United States is so addicted to cheap money. And the idea is that, all the traders and investors are like junkies. We want cheap money, lower rates because we want asset prices to soar. And that's kind of what we're here for, to take advantage of that. So kind of the first thing, or the only thing I'll be watching this morning will be the Palantir calls. Let's see if we can catch that again up this morning, right around 70 cents. That should be nice. We had some great volume on those contracts. So we'll keep an eye and see if there's any change really out there in terms of this market movement. Again, all of this can be reversed, but at least the retail sales number is weird. But interesting enough, if it was as bad as feared, wouldn't that bring the expectation for a deeper rate cut? But yet now it beat. Now does that give us the expectation of just 25 instead because the market and the economy is so resilient? Again, depending on your perspective. It's really just a toss-up at this point. So the market looks to me it's pricing in 50. I think everyone's going to be disappointed. I think we get 25. The Fed is notorious for dragging its feet and notorious for letting people down. And there's one thing I always remember is that expectation is the mother of all disappointment. So let's see what happens. I hope I'm wrong, like I've said before. Do you think, I had a question here, comments. All right, here we go. Do you think IWM breaks and holds 219? Could it get to 225 by the end of the week? Ooh, good question. End of the week will be very much dependent on what's going to happen tomorrow. So the question is, are we bullish basically IWM into the actual print or the actual event? Excuse me. Let's go and bring up. Let's bring up the 4-hour chart. Sorry, it's running a little slow here. We'll do IWM. This thing can roll. Now, this is taking forever. Is it maybe Instagram that's making this slow? Who knows? There we go. All right, IWM, come on. Sorry about that, Kyle. Kyle's like, what's happening? All right, so let's take a look at IWM before my computer freezes on me because it just doesn't want to work. All right, there we go. IWM still within this upward wedge formation. Now you're basically asking, can we get to 225? The level that I'm looking for that to break, it has to be 222. Definitely. So 222 is to be in focus. If 222 breaks, then yes, 225 would be next. Actually, maybe 226.74. But that question really remains. A, do we continue higher today? And if we do, how high can we go? Do we break 222 today? If we break 222 today, in my opinion, IWM, I think we're setting up for the breakout now. Now it's almost like a foregone conclusion that we're just going to soar. Who cares what the Fed says? That's what at least the market is pricing, or it's just going to be the ugliest rug pull you'll see. Now, that might not be helpful at this moment, but to be quite honest, I would not trade IWM. I think the Russell futures are a better bet because you'll have more control and you can trade that overnight as well. Hope that helps. Target, let's take a look. I apologize for the slowness of this. So here's the next question. Target. Hopefully this does not. Let's see. All right. Target on the 4-hour chart is breaking out of this downward channel, obviously. But anything that really stands out here, I still want 182. I know that seems far away, but it does need to break that out. And for some reason, I apologize, it's taking absolutely forever to load. Or there's just too much streaming going on. Look at this. Lines on the screen. Who knows what's happening? My apologies, guys. So I'm just going to read. Okay, I have so much going on here. My apologies. I'm frozen out on this system. Let me see here if I can get the memory going. May have to upgrade the RAM. Let's recycle the memory. This should be okay. There we go. Sometimes you just need to recycle. Thanks for being patient, team. Okay. We are above it, but anything that stands out here, nothing really. I would stay away from Target, even though we had good retail sales. That's why we're seeing a little bit of a bump here. But again, it's all dependent on tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow is the most important day. All the CPIs, all the PPIs, all the Fed speakers, it all comes down to tomorrow. Does the Fed take us home? Do they start us with our cutting cycle, our easing cycle with a big hit or just a whimper? That's what we're looking at. And that's pretty much across the board, guys. Remember, stocks have been commoditized. It doesn't matter what the company does anymore. It's all about the stock. And it's traded in ETFs, it's traded in futures, it's traded in other types of derivatives. So, it's not as simple as, oh, Target had a great quarter, they're going to soar. It doesn't work that way. Boy, do I wish. But with that being said, that's Target. Let's see. I'm getting questions here. Thank you. Let's go and take. Again, my apologies for taking forever. Okay, let's take a look at Tesla. Every time I click on the question, it just slows down my system. So let's make sure that we don't slow this down. All right. Tesla, I have an alert above 235.15. Once that breaks, I'm looking for this gap fill here at 244.88. Let's take a look at Meta. Come on. Meta is absolutely almost set to break out above 543. Again, this is one I've traded before and I got burned. Let's go ahead and wait for 545 if that's the case. 543 is my first alert, but again, it is setting up for a breakout. Executive Order 13772 connected to World Financial Liberty. I don't know what that means. I don't know. It sounds like you're trying to arrest me. So I don't know what that means. I assume you're talking about the Trump World Financial Liberty crypto thing. There was an interview with him yesterday, but he didn't give a lot of details in terms of what he's trying to accomplish with crypto or even know how it works. Now, that's not a political commentary. That's exactly what I read this morning from Reuters. So does that really do anything for crypto? Not really. I mean, we know September and October are seasonally weak for Bitcoin. What has changed? Not really much. Micron, let's keep an eye here. We're right at support and we're boosting higher to 88.41. There is a gap to fill at 94.74. If we can break above 91.95, then we can see what we can do with Micron for upside. But let's see if it can confirm. Man, this thing is so slow. Is it just the Instagram kind of taking all the memory from the could be. Let's go to create. Come on. I'm gonna just have to add RAM to this thing. Sorry about that. Let's see. IBM potential counter Sherm setup. It's overextended. Shoot. Palantir was overextended too, and that started moving higher. So maybe overextended, I assume, is what you mean in terms of RSI. And IBM has been on fire. You could see it here. Are we looking for some kind of counter trend? You said 206.51 would be the next target for the downside. That's the 161.8 extension. Man, this thing is running so slow. It's just the memory. I think just the Instagram kind of killing me here. Google above 162 calls for next week. All right, sorry, I had to recycle the memory. This is all RAM related. All right, Google. We're right above the 200-day. Let's see if it holds it. It is green this morning. And right here, the 20-day, we do need to recapture 165. I would wait for 165 before I do anything on Google. I think there's other setups here. Palantir from Mike. Come on. All right, Palantir, we talked about it earlier this morning. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart shows us the pre-market action. And again, like I said before, I think we're going to get this first thing this morning. Again, Palantir does lately have had issues with selling off first thing in the morning. I hope we can catch it. We'll see what we get. Again, I really don't want to hold this position ahead of the FOMC either. A runner would be fine, but not a full position. No. You're welcome. Again, I'm sorry, Jeremy and everyone else. This has been running pretty slow, but I'll get it fixed up next time. I think it's just really the memory. There's too much going on, so I'll start clearing stuff as I go. We're right at 700 on Netflix. Now the question remains, well, how high can we go? That's always the question. And again, we could use Fibonacci's always for the next extension if you're into that. 1,033.65. Why the hell not? But yeah, Netflix is setting up for a breakout. The question really now is, how high can we go? And it looks like just based on, let me go and extend this. Let's go to the weekly. Pretty clean within this channel. So if we just extend that to the right, and a lot of these companies, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, have been kind of stuck within an upward channel, very clean. 750 would be the next target. So right around 6 on the technicals on Netflix. Computers worn out, made too much money. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing is that this is a Mac Mini, and again, it's just easier for my desk and to move everything. I also have an iMac, and the iMac is just older. It's a 2018. I've had that forever, but I need to add more RAM on this thing, and I hope I can. And if I can't, then I have to figure out something else, because now the Instagram is linked with the YouTube now, where we have all the video coming together. I think I just need to close out some stuff, and I think I should be okay in the future. Let's go and take a look at Apple here. Like, I don't do any video editing, so I didn't see the need to go, full crazy 32 gigs of memory or 64 gigs of memory. That is not needed. Let's go to the daily here on Apple, even though it's running slow. I have an alert below 213.81. I was waiting for that break yesterday to short with NVIDIA as well. They were both down yesterday, and just not enough. So I have the alert there. It is so if we do get a pullback, you are seeing some weakness in Apple relative to the NASDAQ. And that's really because of those iPhone headlines, meaning that the pre-orders and the first round of ordering was about, I think it was around 15% or 12% below last year. And I understand, what did the Apple iPhone do that's different this go around? I mean, what do we expect from a phone these days? So I think it was an expectation of just not bad, but not as good as expected. Apple, as we know, is a powerhouse. I mean, right now, it just doesn't look great to do anything as of yet. You still have a gap to fill at 220.184. If you start breaking above 218, maybe. But again, with tomorrow's FOMC, I think we're just playing with fire at that point. When you log into TOS, the box where you put username has access button, so you give yourself RAM access. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I could do that as well. Do you think it's smart to enter any position right now ahead of FOMC? Futures, yes. Options, no, because you're stuck. The good news, if you get into any position, is that keep in mind that the FOMC tomorrow is at 2 p.m. That's when the actual event is. 2:30 p.m. is the press conference, and Lord knows what the old man's going to say. So my thing is, if you're part of, let's get Palantir. That should be our first thing. Let's get it, get some money in our pockets. We're nice and fed. We feel good. We don't have any FOMO ahead of a big event. Best case, other case scenario would be we'll just trade futures the rest of the day because we'll have a little more control. We can get in and out a lot easier than we could with options. Options, it's all about demand. Again, if your contracts are not in demand, the price is not going to go up. And if the demand goes down, prices are going to go down. And there's R2Y at 2232 pushing high. We'll keep an eye on the Russell today. We'll keep an eye on the NASDAQ today. We'll definitely keep an eye on the S&P. We're going to be more focused on futures this go around, with Palantir being taken first thing in the morning. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, that it doesn't pull back because it has before. Thank you guys so much for being patient with me. I am so sorry. There was one more question that I just got word of, which is FDX. And again, my apologies for the RAM and everything running slow. I will make sure that tomorrow things are looking a lot better or a lot smoother. FDX does report earnings on Thursday. So really, what's the expectation here? Really, this thing. Let's see if we could draw a couple lines and give us a little context. Right? Isn't it all about the lines? So just based on what we see here, an upward channel. Only issues that you do have a gap to fill here. This is at 257.66. So we do have to be a little careful that if we do break below 270, 260 would be next. So let's put an alert tomorrow or today. Let's say the Fed gives us some real bad news or a bad reaction. Be in play 60 puts. Again, this is all dependent on volume. I wish it was as simple as, hey, this is the price, this is where we're going. That's futures. But when it comes to options is, hey, I like that level. I thought we're going to go. Well, we need to find contracts out there that are in demand with a good spread that has enough volume for us to take advantage of that. There's so many stocks that I have done over the past 10 years and seen and been like, I knew that was going to happen, but there was no volume. What can I do? I'm going to trade against myself. All we're going to do is just pass contracts between our clients. That's not going to work. We need volume. We need demand. We need to get stuff or buy something that's going to move. And we don't want to invest in options. It's just trading in and out. Get our money and move the hell on. And that's the deal. And thank you guys so much for your time. I'm going to go and leave it there. Let's see if we can get Palantir this morning. I'll give more information on the recap of the podcast later on in the afternoon. Hope to see you there. Make sure to hit subscribe. Make sure to hit that like, turn on notifications. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys later on for the podcast. Cheers all.